graders, and welcome to lesson 9-7 on making predictions from scatter plots. So a scatter plot is a graph that displays two different sets of data as an ordered pair. Your x value is going to be on your horizontal axis and your y value is going to be on your vertical axis. And what's great about putting them into an ordered pair and plotting them is it can show us if these two sets of data are related. So sometimes when the x increases, the y increases too. And that will give us a positive trend. Okay, so like if you're running and your heart rate goes up, the farther you run, the harder you run, the more your heart rate will increase. Other things have a negative trend, which means that as one thing increases, the other thing will decrease. And some other things have absolutely no relation. So for example, how much I eat for breakfast and what time I go to bed at night probably are not going to show much relation to each other. So I might expect them to have no trend. Positive trend, negative trend, no trend. Okay, that is further explained on this page right here, and I want you to try and come up with your own example and connect it to science as I have shown you to do. So the next thing we got to do is learn how to make a scatter plot. I'm going to read to you the directions for it, and then we're going to apply it into the example. The first step is to determine the intervals for the horizontal axis you're going to find the range, break it into equal intervals that make sense. Okay, we usually want between 6 and 10 intervals, as we have done with other graphing before. And if one of your sets of data involves any type of time change, that should be your horizontal axis. Okay, so next you're going to do the exact same thing for the vertical axis. You're going to find the range. You're going to look for a nice compatible number that you can round it to. You're going to divide so that way you can get equal increments between 6 and 10. And then you're going to plot each data pair, which again we told you are going to be written as ordered pairs. Then we're going to check labels and titles, and then the next step is really cool. You can use your ruler to draw a line that's going to be called a trend line that goes through the middle of the points to estimate. So that's if there's a trend. If there is a positive trend where they're all kind of going up or a negative trend, you can use your ruler and try to split those points in half, have about half above the line and half below the line, and then you can use that to predict and estimate also, but prediction is probably a better word, to be able to predict what you would expect if you found some data that was not in your original set. Let's look at an example and make this all come together for us. So here we've got what's your car's worth, average value of mid-size sedan in dollars. So a 3-year-old car is worth $11,000, a 2-year-old car is worth $12,000, a 7-year-old car is worth $3,000, and we're going to take this data and put it into a scatter plot. My two sets of data are the age and the value, and so I need to pick which one's going to go on my horizontal. I'm going to choose the year or the age because that shows time, so I put that down the bottom. And I'm going to look at my range. Let's see, my smallest one is a 1. My biggest one is an 8. So I have a range going up to 8, which means that I can just count up by ones, which is what they did here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And even though they only wrote the even numbers in, this is counting by ones. Sometimes they only write the evens or they skip numbers to just make it less crowded on your axes to make it easier to read. So now we have to do the vertical one. Let's see, our smallest number, we got 1,000, and we're going all the way up to 15,000. So that's got a range of 14,000. I want to go a little bit higher than 15,000. Let's round it up to 16,000 so that way it's even. And now I've got 16. And that's way bigger than 10, and 16,000 is certainly bigger than 10. So I'm going to divide that. I'm going to divide the 16, just kind of forgetting about the thousands for a second. I'm going to divide the 16 by 2, and I'm going to get 8. So I'm going to have 8 intervals going up the side, and they're going to go up by 2,000 each. So I've got 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, and 14,000. And I wrote those in for you because I just didn't want to waste time on it right now. Now the next step is to graph our ordered pairs. So right here, our X is the age, so that's the first value, and then our Y is the 11,000. Okay, follow along as we plot a few of these. I know you know how to plot points already, but we haven't done it with such big values or numbers. So we're going to do a few of those, and then you're going to show me what you know at the end. So we've got 3 for my X, and then 11,000 for the Y, all the way up to the 11. I run before I take the elevator. Right? My next point, 2 and 12,000, I run to the 2, and then I ride the elevator all the way up to the 12. 7 and 3, we come running to the 7, up to the 3,000. Okay, and as we plotted all these points, now we're going to look and see, is there a trend? Yes, there's a trend. What kind of trend is it? Yes, it's a negative trend. As the age is increasing, okay, the value is decreasing. So that is a negative trend. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my straight edge and I'm going to draw a line, a trend line, that splits this data just about in half. And you know what? It's not going to be perfect. It doesn't really have to be perfect, but we're going to do our best to draw a line through that data. See? Should have been down a little bit more. Once I have my trend line, I can use it to make predictions. So I might say, hey, I wonder how much I could expect to get for a car that is 4 years old. And I can take this up from the 4 up to my line and then over to here. And I'm going to say up about $9,000 is what that would go for. Okay? Or I could say, hey, my Mrs. Williams car is like 8 or 9 years old, so I could come over here and I could realize that if I sold my car, I would get very little money for it at this point. Now, onto the second page. We already talked about these trends. We already called them a trend line. Now it's in your notes for you. Here's the example I want you to do, okay, to show me what you know. It says to use a scatter plot to predict the height of a tree with a circumference of 175 inches. And this was the table that you were given. Okay, for your convenience, I reminded you of the steps you're going to do over on the side here, and I actually already skipped some of these steps for you by choosing intervals and putting it on your graph for you. So your X, your horizontal, which one did we use for the horizontal? Good, the circumference, so that's why it's on the bottom. And our vertical, or our Y, we used for the height. So that means that these ordered pairs right now are written like this. Which number is going to come first in our ordered pair? The 10, because the 10 is our X, and the 19 will be the Y. So this one will be 63, 32. So you can use this spot to do it. And I want you to plot all the points, and then once you have your points, you're going to draw a trend line if there is a trend, and then you're going to use that trend line to do your best to predict what we would expect the height to be of a tree with a circumference of 175 inches. I can't wait to see what you got. Go ahead and get to work.